I follow teachings of people, created a formula. I follow and learn from my high school coaches. I followed and learned from Herb Brooks. I follow and learn from Tony Robbins to this day, and I cause some of their leadership. Like I'm intending to cause leadership with Micah Ruzioni. I am intending to cause more of Tony Robbins leadership. Like that's my intention. And if you're new here, you're like, this guy's a lunatic. I promise I'm not. I promise I have caused leadership for Tony Robbins. He's caused a lot more of my leadership, but I have caused his leadership. Influence is in their language now because I wrote him a letter 2 years ago. And immediately it started to be integrated. Asked Michael Smikin if that is a true fact in the room. And he's blowing up my phone at Date with Destiny 2018. And influence is all over the place now in new and different ways because he taught influence at one point. So we have caused leadership. He also said in a room, hey, Sean's my coach. And if you don't know what he's up to, you need to. And there's no more integrous and heart-centered leader in the world than Sean. That was said to a group of the 200 of his highest paying, most inner circle clients. So yes, I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. You cause my leadership. You teach me things. That's what leadership is. It's the causing a leadership in each other and others. And this week, we have some fun that's going to be absolutely mind-boggling. I'm going to come back to that in a minute as this movement takes its place into the next level of acceleration. And if you think that I'm the lone nut dancing, you're the lone nut dancing. You're the lone nut dancing, right? We need you to have 10 and then 100 people that you're causing leadership in. 10, then 100. We're coming back to that more as the week progresses. And this week is all about question mastery. However, the first song of today was We Take Care of Our Own by Bruce Springsteen. We take care of our own. And we do take care of our own. And first, thank you all, anybody, for the birthday messages that you sent to me directly, the 50 people plus that spent 3.5 hours there yesterday, whether you're there for the entire thing as some were or just parts of it. It was shocking. It was a gift. It was overwhelming, mind-blowing. I could not be more thankful. And I can only pray for you that you would have what you, as a human being, as a natural right, deserve to have people saying the things that were said yesterday about me. And I have never heard anybody say anything about any human being like what Nicole said yesterday. And I could not be more grateful. I cannot be more grateful. And I thank Nicole, Mona, Rob, Bella, Adam, Fernando, all of you for what you caused yesterday. It was a challenging day for me on a number of different fronts, as it is for many people during this time, and it was so utterly mind-blowingly impactful. Now, the time we're in is a time of COVID. The time we're in is a time of immense danger, a time when there are more people lost on a daily basis to COVID than were lost in 9/11, except it happens every day. We have more than a 9/11 a day during COVID. And this isn't hype. It's not conspiracy theory. It's absolute reality. And it is not true that we're miscounting things and we're counting car accident deaths. Those are marginal, fractional distinctions. This is not a political issue. Democrats and Republicans turned it into a political issue shamefully, shamefully. Whether you wear a mask or not is somehow representative of your political affiliation. It's shameful. This is a scientific problem. It's a healthcare crisis. It's a pandemic. It is shameful to turn it into a political issue, and the left and the right did it, and they should be ashamed of themselves, both. That is what Unblinded says on the issue. We've done some crazy things here. We had an Unblinded immersion, and we were lucky, and we were fortunate. And the intention when we had it was not that we'd all be in the same room, but for 7 different reasons is how it ended up. And we were lucky. We were fortunate, blessed, and that was unbelievable what happened, right? And we are in a different awareness and a different time right now. And so with that said, we want to bring on one of our own, our friend, our teammate, our brother, George Vikingruber, who has just suffered a horrific loss. And George, our hearts go out to you for the loss of your mom. We love you, brother, and the stage and the microphone are yours.
Hey, Mr. Callaghy. George, we're working on him joining us. So please continue and we'll give you a quick note as soon as he's ready.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, George, we had worked that out ahead of time. So George may or may not be here right now. Okay. So, and of course we would understand because I can't even imagine what George and his family are going through, but that was a request on his part to share with the movement, what's on his heart and what he has just gone through as a result of COVID. Okay. So we'll be bouncing on back to George shortly. What I want to do is bring up the extent to which they're here, capable of going live. Jason Sipple, Tiffany Armstrong, Diana, Jason, Tiffany, Diana, Bella, to the extent that Bella was on that 7 a.m. call today, Lorelei, Gina, Andres. Let's get all you fine people unmiked, and whoever, just if you're on mic, just say hello.
Hello.
Hey, Jace. That's what I heard first. Let's get the rest of the people. So,
hey, Sean, I'm here, but I was not on the 7 a.m. call, so
okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm here too.
Yeah. Hey, Bella. So this will be fun for Bella to hear then.
I'm here too.
So good morning, Bella. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm excellent. How are you?
I am excellent. So Jason, let's start with you, brother. First of all, can you believe my kids and my family think that I'm not funny?
I cannot believe it. That's astonishing. Like, what is that about?
Yeah. So what were you experiencing this morning in the space of that call? Just give us one word. Let's go one word real quick. One word. What did you experience around question mastery? The topic for this week, right, is how your question mastery is shaping your outcomes and your results of, your outcomes, your zone action planning, your outcomes. Let me start again. So the question we're dealing with this week is how your question mastery is shaping your outcomes, which of course are based on your zone action, and dictating your 6, 7, 8, or 9-figure income and eventual net worth in your business and your life. That's what we're playing with, right? So, so Jay Sips, just one word, what was present for you?
One word? Jeez. Tensionality.
Okay. Lorelei, one word.
Congruence.
Gina, one word.
Impact.
Andres. Diana. Okay. So, Jason. Yeah.
Expansion.
I'm going to go with gangsta.
Tank, what is one word for you?
Diana's up.
All right, Diana.
Uniqueness.
Uniqueness. Tank.
Tink is on her phone. Just takes her a couple seconds to unmute.
Got it. All right. So Jace, what would you say that if you could tell people in 30 seconds or share with people and scatoma people about the week, the day and the week that's going to unfold and what we're going to be teaching and sharing related to question mastery, what would you say was your evolution when you stepped onto the 7 a.m. call this morning to when you got off of it about what was present for you in those almost 90 minutes that we spent together?
Truth and the fun of leaning into the truth in a challenge, fun energy.
Yeah. And how about what became available about question mastery for you? Let's go actually, Diana, what became available for you around question mastery this morning?
Probably the biggest element that can make the biggest difference. I reach the impact that I want to monetize the way that I want to monetize, and also to have more fun when I do it. In simpler words, the number one distinction that if I have to get to work on will create the greatest impact. So makes me want to get much better at asking questions because they can unlock the biggest outcome.
Yeah. The biggest challenge, right, with the formula is how human beings think. Because what we want is we want one answer. But if you have unconditional love for people and you do not have question mastery, you will fail. You will not succeed at getting what you want. If you have influence mastery and you have time blocking, but not vertical innovation, you will not get what you want. If you have vertical innovation, time blocking, modeling, and no maximization through measuring and monitoring, you will not get what you want. If you have incredible ability to build rapport, to put something at stake, create heroic, unique identity, and suboptimal ability to have agreement formation because your clarifications and questions and level 5 listening during agreement formation is suboptimal, you will not get what you want. Now that is an inconvenient truth, but you deal with it in your car every freaking day. Like if your car doesn't have enough oil, if your car doesn't have the tires filled, like it just doesn't work. It's just like normal, like it's understood. Your acceptance of the forces controlling your money, time, and magic, like it isn't the formula. You're not in or out of the formula. Like let's kill the language. You're in the formula or out of the formula. You're in the, like in the formula, out of the formula. You're in the formula 24/7. It's a question of how aware are you and where your level of mastery is. That's dictating your money, your time, your magic. It's dictating whether you have a $100,000 income, a $50,000 income, a $250,000 income, a $500,000 income, $1 million income. It's whether to make $1 million, you got to work 5 hours a week, you got to work 0 hours a week, or you got to work that you think 20 years to make $1 million. It's whether or not, I know people who raise money and they'll create an initial valuation for a company at $10 million. Under their valuations, we could raise money on Unblinded at probably $30 to $50 million valuation right now. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying it's not true, but they just ask themselves a different question, right? How do we convey to investors the value of this company? And why wouldn't we start with a $10 million valuation for an idea, right? And for most of us, we think to get to $10 million, we've got to work like 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, maybe for some 2 years. But it's a whole lot more complex than if you're somebody who raises money in Silicon Valley in private equity. Ask Annie some of the things we're talking about, right? Ask Annie about some of the things we're talking about. Ask Joe Hagan. Okay, so with that said, Tiffany Armstrong, what would you tell folks? How would you open up listening to what occurred for you this morning through question mastery and its impact on your zone action, your outcome, and your current economics? How is question mastery shaping your and everybody here's zone action, outcomes, income, and net worth today? What do you got, Tiffany?
As we give Tiff a second to unmute, we
Here.
got George
Yep.
here as well. Awesome.
I'm-
Over to you, Tiff.
Okay, thanks. Yep. So really what it boils down to is zone action, but you need to know what your zone action is and what the outcome of it is going to be. So the question mastery really flips to yourself in the story you're telling yourself, whether you're good or not, or you know enough, or can I really do this? So when you flip your question mastery to solve for the problem at stake, that in itself will formulate your zone action for the day.
Yeah, and I'll give you one. Okay, and then we're gonna go to George. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna pick up tonight. We are gonna create some scotomas tonight in insanity on what is Unblinded, why the raw. We have Holly coming on, real estate extraordinaire. We have somebody in the private banking world coming on, and we have Kirk Adams of the AFB coming on, and we're gonna scotoma the world of charitable. So if you want to learn how to raise money for charity of any sort, you want to watch somebody who has crushed it in the space of real estate. And I mean, crushed it, right? As well as somebody in the private banking world. We are going to be rocking the world. If you want to learn how to run a strategy session, you want to learn how to open up listening, that's what we're doing tonight. And we ask that you just invite people and bring people. Clubhouse, real quick, question mastery. Diana said she was asking herself the question, how do I keep up? Diana said she was asking herself the question, how do I keep up? Here's the question I am asking myself about Clubhouse. How do we prevent anybody in the movement from hurting themselves, wasting their time, and being lost down the dopamine rabbit hole of Clubhouse while we figure out how to take over Clubhouse, merge ecosystems, be the dominant force on it, and cause every single person teaching anything to do with business have no choice, no intelligent choice, but to merge ecosystems with Unblinded because of our superior skill sets, formula, delivery mechanisms, competitive, fun, talent hotbed dynamics. Do you think Diana's getting a better answer, a different answer to her question than I am with my question? And that is the question we are formulating, and I have a lot of answers. And it has begun. It has begun. And that's why I put out that message that said, do not follow me around Clubhouse, because I promise I'm doing something a little bit different than anybody else is doing. Because I'm figuring out how do we merge ecosystems with Clubhouse, become the dominant force, and leave people integriously and lovingly, no choice but to become a part of our nation. That's what we're doing, right? So with that, Fernando, final on that point.
Final on that one. I love how you've created the language part of the nation, because it is power in unity, and it's influencers influencing influencers. I always forget this middle part, and I know it ends to make the world an even greater place, or to create 1 trillion relationships, or at least 10 to make the world an even greater place.
Influencers to merge ecosystems for 1 + 1 = 1 trillion, or at least more than 10 relationships to make the world an even greater place. And
Boom.
we're using the analogy, right, not of dictatorship, but of the United States of America, where there's a unified federal government and then there's states. And there's an interplay of freedom and acceleration under a unifying principle of a formula, and massive acceleration of the flow, business processes, sales follow-up processes, and that is what we're building. And it has begun. It is already done. It's the question of from here to there as we impact the world in a greater place. Pause. We are going to continue with that tonight and tomorrow morning. Our pause is, George, we shared before you got on, brother, again, our most heartfelt prayers, presence, love for the loss of your mom. And we seeded the dynamics of COVID being worse than a 9/11 happening every day. And brother, love you. And we hand you the microphone with empathy.
Sean, thanks for that. And Unblinded Movement, good to see you again. Happy 2021. Is it still January? Because I haven't seen much of it yet. And when we talk about Clubhouse, I had to wake up from my haze and go, what the hell is a Clubhouse? That's how fast Clubhouse came onto the scene, because I haven't been here for the 3 weeks that Clubhouse all of a sudden popped on the movement and everybody's jumping on something. But there's so many places you can go when you're talking about a parent. And I'll just start with the scotoma because that's me. So I'm a little distracted today because in about 5 hours, I'll be talking to Governor Murphy. And that's kind of crazy because when you're living with somebody that's a rock star and growing up with them, you kind of take for granted the things they do because that's just your mom. But as we were dealing with her death, and as we were dealing with all of this thing, we heard from so many people and we're putting the obituary together. And all of a sudden it was like, it almost didn't matter because it ran in the Asbury Park Press. It ran in the Tri-Town News. It ran on Patch. And there were stories about my mother everywhere. And nobody called us for that. They just took stuff that was from the county and the state spotlight and put together these lovely articles about her. And last Wednesday, I got a message. No, shit, it must have been before that. I got a message from Senator Gopal, who said it was midnight, and he was like, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. And you're wondering, how the hell did he even hear about my mom? We hadn't put anything out yet. She had passed away earlier that day, but it was already out there. And he said, I'm going to talk to the governor if that's okay with you. So here's your scotoma. My mother, she was the second female mayor of Howell. She was the first Republican female mayor of Howell. So when you hear that a Democratic governor is going to talk to her on the air and say lovely things about you, you go, my mom getting compliments from a Democrat? Fuck, that's going to kill her. But nonetheless, my mother will be on the COVID spotlight on Wednesday. She's being featured by Governor Murphy during the spotlights. And what I had taken for granted over the years was that as her political career shifted and transitioned, she spent the last 25 years teaching law and government to town administrators and CFOs. She's been giving to the local PBA when they couldn't afford bulletproof vests. She became their fundraising advocate, and she's probably raised at least $100,000 through her fundraising alone over the last couple of decades. We have been inundated by food. Anybody that has lost a parent is probably aware of how much food gets pushed on you. And we had the revenge of the chicken parmesan because 3 different versions of it in 3 different trays showed up at my sister's house on Thursday, and I laughed at her until they started showing up at my house on Friday. So by Saturday, when the party tray showed up, and remember, my father is in a house alone. My sister is in a house of 5. I'm in a house of 4 with picky kids who don't eat any of that. I called the local pastor and I said, hey, Matt, I need to know if you can get meals to the community that can't afford these meals. And he said, you got it. My mother for the last 20 years has been running a program feeding homebound seniors at Thanksgiving and Christmas and Passover. And it's about 200 meals. And my mother's version of a meal is 1 meal can feed somebody, 2 people for 2 days. So the army of food and the people she put together to make sure those meals happened year over year was impressive. And we took up the banner in Bordentown. We now do 500 meals for school kids that are underprivileged and can't necessarily afford that warm holiday meal. So when my mother passed and we got too much food, we figured out how to keep feeding people. And that's pretty awesome to give her what my word is that comes out of Unblinded in the movement, and that is legacy. My mother's legacy is she was a complicated woman. Politics was her benefit and her burden at the same time. When people that said, oh, do you know Sue? Sorry about that. They said, oh, do you know Sue? Sometimes I had to say, it depends, because some people love to hate her and other people love to love her. And I've met both in my career as a lawyer as well. But the one message that I want to make sure everybody hears, and I saw it in WhatsApp this morning, and I'm not sure who it was, but if you are experiencing COVID-like symptoms and you think you're too weak to go to the ER, please, for the love of God, have a pulse ox at home so you're monitoring yourself. Here's the part of the story that's a little hard. My mother and father both went into the hospital on New Year's Eve. My mother fell, hit her head, and was unconscious. She was up on New Year's Day, so that's the last time we got to speak to her before she went on a vent. But my father was sent home because he wasn't sick enough. That's how hard it is in hospitals now. They send COVID patients home if they think you can handle it. And over the next 5 days, his pulse ox got weaker, his breathing got more labored, and he started getting confused. He was missing common words. If we weren't on his ass for a 4-day Zoom session where my sister and I set up Zoom in our house just so we could hear him and his breathing and communicate with his doctors and advocate, he'd be dead too. And that's what he tells us, because he would have been that tough German who just said, I'm going to gut this out. And he probably would have gone to sleep and not woken up. But we had to stay on top of him. So advocate for yourself, advocate for your family members, advocate for your friends, because this fucking version of it is scary as hell. And I need you to understand, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you have a pre-existing condition. It doesn't matter if I just had to go into a fucking grocery store to pick up some fun things for New Year's Eve. It doesn't care about what your intentionality is. It has its own. I hate the fact that my mother, who did so much good on this planet, is dead because she went into a grocery store or she went on a girls' trip shopping in Cape May. So please take care of yourselves. Please think twice about if you need to just pick up that one thing. That's my message.
George, we love you. And
I love you, man.
thank you, brother, really. And my heart is so heavy for you and your family and the loss of your mom and her impact and everything she brought. Just there's no words, you know. And my dad would be dead too if we didn't fight like crazy. And I was not screaming, I was disrupting nurses and doctors, and it was extraordinarily mind blowing, you know. And he would be dead, you know, and I thought
Yeah.
we would lose him. So, you know, it's thank God your dad is here. And again, brother, I'm so sorry.
And thank you, Sean, and thank you all of you for reaching out and just checking in. And I'm sorry if I've been lax on that. It's a weird spot for me, and I'm trying to process it. So the favor I have of the movement is Thursday we put my mom to rest. After that, I got to work. I need people to kick my ass and hold me accountable again, because I've never taken a month off of work. The fact that I have and my team is still standing and work is still being done is a testament to how good of a team I put together. But this isn't me, and this isn't how I intend to be on this planet. So after Thursday, the real work begins, and I will respect and love any of you for poking me to get back on the horse.
George, my brother, we are going to tear it up.
No
Starting
shit.
at the end of the week, and rest, do all the things to work your way through all the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings. And we love you. We're here for you. And we're just going to complete here. No music going out. And let's have a moment of silence for George and his mom again. And then we will just end the call or end the huddle.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.